Talking about self-image is one of my favorite topics because it's something that I've struggled with throughout my life. And as we dive into the book Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, I want to point it out because it has some fantastic things that can be gleaned from this book. Just about every self-help book that's out there, this is its predecessor. This is the foundational part. This is where a lot of them were birthed out of. And the interesting thing is that Mr. Maltz wasn't, or Dr. Maltz, I should say, wasn't even a psychologist. He was actually a plastic surgeon that saw different patterns. He said one person, he'll take off a scar and in 21 days, their self-confidence will be out the roof. Another person, you'll remove the scar and they still feel like they're hideous, but there's nothing structurally wrong with them. So in my own life, where it showed up, because he says that self-image, right, is the blueprint for your personality and the behaviors that you have. It's based on your early experiences, beliefs that you have internalized and things like that. So in my life, a part of it, because I was bullied pretty young, we didn't even really call it then. There wasn't a lot of awareness of that stuff. And what happened is I internalized a lot of things. And what it did was it made it really, really difficult for me when I started playing sports, because I had to work through a lot of anxiety, a lot of freezing up on the court when I was playing, a lot of feeling like I wasn't good enough. I'm so grateful that I had friends around me that really affirmed me over and over again. But throughout my life, this showed up in my self-image, how I viewed myself physically, because I was teased a lot growing up because of my darker complexion. And throughout my life, there's been challenges. So even with a thing of feeling like I'm good enough and things like that, I am grateful to my mother because she poured into me. She called me Special K, you can do it. And I found a lot of affirmation in getting straight A's and things like that at a young age. But even as I got older, I found myself struggling in public speaking settings. So I'm grateful for several of the mentors that I've had, pastors that's been in my life, ministers in my life, coaches that I've had in my life. Some of my best friends helped to encourage me and foster this and shift this. And because of some of these experiences, it helped me to break out of it. But even as an adult, I did have some struggles. And there are some things that come up from time to time. But overall, even my self-image issue would stop me from doing something like this. Probably why it took me so long to do this. Although human behavior, mental health, and helping people transform their lives is my passion. And it's my hope that you glean something from these videos that I'm producing, because I really feel like if someone implements these techniques and principles that's been proven for centuries probably, and they're scientifically based, scientifically supported, and that it will change your life just like it's changed my life. Now I public speak all the time. I'm an actor. I've even acted on stage. I went from a guy that was freezing up as a child and even had a hard time public speaking as an adult, to performing in professional theater productions, being in movies, and I'm grateful for it. But that was an entire process for me in order to get there. So now a situation like this is really just kind of like breathing for me now. I've also redefined how I see myself. You can say in many ways I have a new personality. Anyone that knew me when I was much younger to be there think is a different person. They probably say that when they see these videos. So I want us to dive in to some of his principles, because he says some profound things. So from the outset of his book in chapter 1, he explains that self-image is the blueprint for our lives. Is what's driving our behaviors, is what's driving our personality, is how we're interpreting the world, is driving all of it. And what builds our self-image? Really, a large part of it is early experiences that we've had. It's beliefs we've absorbed and the way we interpret our lives and the stories we tell ourselves. So this is what we're living out. Matter of fact, a large portion of it is formed in our childhood, because from ages 1 to 8, as I've said multiple times, we're functioning in theta brainwave state. That means everything is going into the nervous system. This is a state that we get through sleep, meditation, hypnosis, is a very powerful state, but we're highly programmable as kids. We can take advantage of waking moments when we're shifting states. So we're coming out of delta to theta to alpha to fully being aware, beta brainwave states. These are things to be able to understand. Why we call the first hour of the morning when you wake up the golden hour, and before you go to sleep as well, because we're able to collapse space and time. Essentially, we can make changes faster in our lives. So I want to go back to Maxwell Maltz in chapter 1, what he's trying to explain, because many people are trying to achieve success and they're taking outward action, but their inner world, the work hasn't been done. Sometimes there's some excavation, some reprogramming that needs to be done, and that's why I want you to stay tuned in, because we're going to talk about some ways to do that as well. Okay, so I give you some examples. There are two students. One student, both students, right, fail a test. One student, his immediate internal dialogue is, I'm a failure. You're like, well, where did I'm a failure, and these kinds of things always happen to me. I'm sure some of you have heard friends, people around, and even yourself say that maybe, hopefully not. There's the other student is, man, I wonder how I can improve. Maybe I need to get a tutor. I'm gonna talk to the teacher afterwards because, I really thought I had it. What's some of the things that I need to work on? Maybe I need to go to sleep earlier. Maybe I need to study more in advance. But they're looking for solutions. So they look at failure as an event, not as a person. They don't internalize or, okay, I'm a failure now. That's something totally different, because one person is saying they're identifying it as a part of their personality, as a part of who they are, but the next person is just, this is an event, because the truth is failure is a part of success. Let me say that again. No matter what you're doing, no matter what you're trying to accomplish, that's a part of it. I sit in therapy all the time and I see people say that they want healthy relationships and they want relationships, but in the other hand, they say things like, there's no one available for me, and their internal message is also, I'm not worthy, if they're honest with themselves, which is a whole nother thing I'll go into in future videos, because it's important to understand these unconscious beliefs that's playing beneath the surface, because these things are responsible for the cycles that we see in life. One easy thing, an exercise that I want you to do is pull out a notebook, a piece of paper, whatever it is. Okay, I want you to set a timer, because it's very important. I'd like you to set the timer for 2 minutes. And automatically what comes up, I want you to write what your beliefs are about health, about relationships, about money, and your level of self-confidence. Off the bat, and love. I want you to write that word. If you need more than 2 minutes, fine, do 4. What actually comes up? It was what I want you to write, because many times, especially if I put you on a timer, what comes up is what you truly believe about the topic. That's fine. The next thing I want you to do is, I want you to write out what you want to, how you want to react, the person you'd like to be, what you want your belief system to be surrounding that. Because later on, we're going to do a visualization exercise to help with that. Quick tip. So when you're going throughout your day and you're finding you're having struggle in a certain area, you have a dream, a goal that you're going forward, but sometimes you're procrastinating, or you're finding it harder than it should be as far as from an emotional level, just ask yourself, what do I have to believe to create this level of suffering? In chapter 2 of Psycho-Cybernetics, it talks about the fact that we have an internal success guidance system. The issue is most people don't know how to program that system. Much like a computer, it's not good or bad, it knows what you give it. So one of the tools you utilize, which I've talked about before in previous videos, is visualization, but understanding how the brain and body works and how to utilize the imagination, because one of the things it's going to need is specifics. It's like plugging in a specific address to a GPS. Because what happens now is the brain starts to look for solutions to it. So it's important to understand how to utilize that guidance system. It doesn't have a sense of humor. The subconscious mind or the nervous system just knows what you give it. I give you an example. It's similar to when you decide you want a specific car or something specifically in your life. You start to notice every single place it is on the internet or on the road, especially if it's a car. Now it feels like that car is everywhere. So this is an important detail to understand the specifics of it. What does it feel like? What is it like to have it? Because emotions are so powerful. Emotions are what anchor memories. If you want to learn something, right, you give a heightened emotion to it. It also is what creates trauma. So somebody goes in a car accident, now they go in a car, they're in a specific situation, they hear a specific song, it triggers the emotion. But guess what? We can do that without the external factors. The issue is a lot of people aren't specific enough on what they want, because as soon as that happens, it opens up your creativity, your resilience. You start shifting the way you talk, the way you carry yourself, all these different things. So this is a necessary part of it, and I want to go into more how we add to that program, how we fuel that, how we program it to take us to the GPS to take us to our desired destination. All right, I want to give you an example of specific visualization. It's almost like when an entrepreneur decides he wants to do a business project. I give you an example. Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. From my understanding, what took place is the vision was birthed on the inside. They drew out a plan, made a three-dimensional perspective example of it. Then they even went as far as putting out ads for people to purchase boxes there, right? All starts from what they saw on the inside, and it triggered action. Ground hasn't even been broken for the project, as far as the knowledge that I have about it. Similar in performance coaching with athletes, they have them visualize themselves doing the actual act, going through the motions, winning the award, taking the final shot. It is similar to the study that was done. And what happened was there was a group that visualized themselves working out, a group that worked out, and a group that didn't do anything. Well, they found that the group that actually did visualize the workout, they didn't improve as much as the group that actually worked out, but their muscle strength and all that stuff increased by 16%, which I think is phenomenal. Armed with this knowledge, it should help you to be more intentional about your thought life, intentional and proactive about the different exercises and principles you can do to improve your life. This should help you understand how important it is to manage your thought life, especially one of your most valuable tools, your imagination. So therefore, imagination is one of your most powerful tools for transformation. But remember, it's not just seeing it, it's feeling the feeling of it being a present fact that's going to be the key. Another principle that we need to realize about ourselves and people around us is that many times I've found that my clients can function like someone under hypnosis. Because remember, I talked to you about when you're a child, you're functioning in theta brainwave state. That you go to that state in hypnosis and sleep and meditation, you can get there through those paths. So what happens is everything is going into the nervous system and programming the subconscious mind. So someone that's a harsh word or a belief system that was put into a child at a young age that creates a limiting belief, whether it's something like people like us don't accomplish those things, adults around them, siblings may have said something like that, or something like you're never going to amount to nothing. Also, it can be the opposite. When a parent is telling a child that they're smart and they're awesome and there's nothing that's impossible for them. Some of the things that I've heard that sometimes I cringe when I hear parents say, I can't say anything many times because it's not my child. They say, well, almost like, well, you don't want to get too excited or too happy, or you want to manage your expectations. And I get one part of what they're saying, right? But the whole point of it is not for things to occur exactly the way you visualize it. The big part of it is the feeling, embodying the feeling. There's a million different ways it can happen. And the minute you start doing this, you start to become more resilient, and the brain looks for multiple different ways to do it. But even then, right, just embody the feeling of it and tune yourself in. This is another one that I'm gonna put in here real quick that I like to do in practice is embody it, but walk in a state of gratitude. It's almost like when you say you're grateful for life and you're grateful for it, as Dr. Joe Dispenza calls it, the ultimate state of receivership. It's almost like it puts you in a place where you're not desperate to have something because you feel like you already have it. But start with the things you already have, because gratitude for one thing can help you to experience gratitude about everything, because there's always something to be grateful for. Studies shown that this can heal the body. You can become more creative, resilient, all just by walking in a state of gratitude. Because the toughest thing in life sometimes is to be grateful for what is. Why Theodore Roosevelt said in his famous quote is, comparison is the thief of joy. And one thing that I see typically steals my clients' joy is looking at other people or putting judgments on themselves that's saying, I should be here, but I'm here. That alone deters the progress, and I do that to myself sometimes. I just don't stay there as much because I apply some of these tools. So the quickest way to snap out of it is to scratch the record, is to recognize it. This is why I like journaling. It's so powerful because it gives you the observer effect. What is the observer effect? All right, so you ever notice someone comes to you with a problem, you're not in it, your friend is just coming for you to advice, or you're listening to one of your friends talk about a situation, you can automatically have 360 view of it and you can see the solution of it. But they're so tunnel vision, they're so stressed, they just see one way. Because you're not emotionally invested to it, you're more relaxed, so you can see a bunch of different opportunities and to overcome the situation or solutions. This is why when I was in the fire department, I was a firefighter for 10.5 years. When you enter the fire, it doesn't matter if you're a chief, captain, whoever you are, you have to give up incident command because you now no longer have 360 view because you're in the fire. And when you're in the fire, your perspective becomes skewed. That's why it's good to have people like therapists, coaches, friends, someone of sound mind, so that you can essentially phone a friend to get fresh perspective so you can get some guidance. Well, journaling helps you to get that perspective as well, so that you can get clarity on what you're thinking, because some things you're going to write down and you can be like, nah, it's not quite like that. It allows you to do things like I've spoken about before. What do I believe to create this level of suffering? Or cognitive restructuring. Okay, we attack a rational belief. What's evidence against this belief? Okay, that's not really true because I can do this, this, and this. And it helps you to see clearly. That's what I mean when I talked about the third-party perspective. The last point I'll make from Maxwell Maltz's amazing work, Psycho-Cybernetics, is that he talked about qualities that highly successful people that are successful in life, they're fulfilled in life, and they have well-adjusted mental health. He said these people have excellent mental health, and the qualities are a sense of imagination, courage, purpose, enthusiasm, and self-confidence. And he really went into detail about this, about why these qualities help you to have a fulfilled life. There's so much more I can go into about this book, but I need to end this video here. This was just a brief overview of some of the concepts and principles found in the book Psycho-Cybernetics. If you find this helpful, and you please like, share, subscribe, comment as well, because I want to respond to your comments. Or if you feel like this can help someone else, that's really why I want you to share, because some of these principles I wish I knew a long time ago. Blessings.